Asia, another development. So what we had was the establishment of the Accounting Standards Committee. Now it's the International Accounting Standards Board. And what are they trying to do? Once again, try to help to put harmonized standards in place in the public interest, trying to make sure that once again you have that trust in financial reporting, and you really are looking out for the stakeholders. The stakeholders in this case, when we're looking at private sector, the stakeholders are really the investors. And this is something that I will come to later, because with the integrated reporting drive and that framework, we are now not only focusing on investors, we're looking at the broader envelope of the various stakeholders involved. So then we started having a lot of developments with respect to the environment. Everyone is becoming a lot more socially and environmentally conscious. And what is that doing? We find that initially it was really in response to, so we had a lot of chemical companies getting into this area because there were not chemical disasters happening, or oil disasters, oil spills. And so to try to address that, there was a push, led a lot by environmental groups, to try to improve, the stewardship of various entities. Once again, you find that with increased transparency, you're going to have people being more accountable for what for their actions. And then also, more recently, people are finding, well, with increased transparency, it's not just about being environmentally conscious or socially conscious. It actually also increases profitability. So once you have people latching on to this and doing more than just a social good, you find that the momentum is increasing with respect to being able to adapt to and embrace these changes. I think it's fair to say that investors generally and investment groups drive changes in reporting. You have special interest, have a very big impact. So environmental body is actually, really having quite a big of an impact. But more importantly, when you have companies having to respond to, because the information is so public now, companies actually cannot ignore the calls of investors and the comments being made by various investors. So what are they doing? They are responding. So this is causing a change in behavior and a change in people's attitudes and perspectives when it comes to responding to the calls of people who are buying their bonds. What is this doing with respect to the public sector? Well, we have, going on to, I'm going to skip Enron, the global financial crisis. What's happening there? Transparency or lack thereof, in government information is really something that I believe also caused the global financial crisis to have such a big toll on government bond ratings and the like. When people do not have sufficient information to be able to make decisions, they penalize the entities or the governments in this instance. So we have what we call financial reporting in and of itself is currently insufficient. And this is what is helping us to move towards integrated reporting. We have financial reporting being very short-term focused. And that's no longer sufficient to be able for investors to make very well-informed decisions. And they have to essentially be going to different sources to get information. They're looking at sustainability information, they've taken financial information, but there is a lack of confidence in what is being provided. And so the private sector, as well as the public sector, has to respond to that in a positive way for us to be able to not face these very harsh penalties that are exacted by bondholders on the various countries. So, with what is happening here, we have an increased drive and increased momentum. I think I call it for integrated reporting. We are actually very excited by the whole development in integrated reporting. One, because as an accountant, you are finding that the value of tangible assets in a company is actually declining. So intangibles are becoming a very big aspect when you're looking at the value of a company. And so if we are purely focusing on financial reporting, we are sort of missing the bigger picture. Financial reporting currently is very compliance focused. In response to various market developments, different regulations have been put in place. These regulations are resulting in very voluminous disclosures in the financial statements, and you almost have to be a genius to understand them. So, what does that mean? We are, with respect to the relevance of the profession, I think we're in a little bit of danger, because if we just continue to focus on the past, continue to focus on the short term, that is no longer sufficient. We have to change as the market is changing. The public sector as well has to change as the market is changing. It is no longer sufficient to ignore what is happening in the medium and long term. It's almost like you're borrowing from the future. If companies ignore what's happening, with respect to the other types of capital that we have, the environmental and the like. If you're not operating in a sustainable manner, essentially what you're doing, you're borrowing from the future to be able to have short-term gains, and the market is going to start penalizing people for that, and it also start penalizing the public sector for that. So, what do we have to do? We have to start focusing on the big picture. What really are the resources that we're using? How are we using them? Are we using these resources in a sustainable manner? I think when I was doing a little bit of research, I actually came across